Hey, thanks for tuning into the Land and Home Show. This video is all about the difference between plats and surveys. I'm Stephen J.B. Davis, your land specialist and residential realtor here in Central Kentucky and beyond. And so we're talking about plats and surveys today because I deal with them a lot and I hear the words interchanged very, very often. And while they're similar, there are some important differences. So we're going to take a little trip into my backyard in order to demonstrate this with a little bit more concrete visual information instead of me just describing it. So let's go. Okay, so this is part of my backyard, and the reason why I wanted to come back here is because I have all of this stone where everything's kind of divided and it looks like multiple parcels, and that's really the heart of the question of what's the difference between a plat and a survey. And so I'm going to use a little bit of chalk from my nieces, and we're going to be looking at the ground for the rest of the video in order to get our heads around the difference between a plat and a survey. Okay, so here we have a pretend, I guess a hypothetical set of parcels here. So if you're following my finger, you've got pink all around, and this pink area really represents what you would traditionally think of as a plat. A plat is going to show boundaries of multiple parcels. And so if we're considering this block of stone a parcel, this block of stone, this block of stone, this block, all of these individual blocks are representative of individual parcels, and a plat is usually more inclusive of that broader view. Whereas a survey is usually something for an individual property. So this highlighted portion here is representative of one parcel, and you generally get a survey for one particular parcel. Now, similarities wise, they both show boundaries of properties, of course, and they can actually both be used in order to create a legal description. A legal description is something that in words versus a visual map, it's in words what is conveyed within a property's boundaries. So west of the Mississippi, everything is very much like what you see here. Things are divided in a lot and block system. So they talk in quadrants and southeast quarters and 1/8 of this half of this block. Like that's how they talk widely in the West or west of the Mississippi. Whereas here in Kentucky and a lot of the eastern states east of the Mississippi, they talk more in a what we call meets and bounds system. So they will say from this spot 120 feet north, and then, well actually that's technically south, so let's use the directions that my house faces. 120 feet south to the old oak tree, and then turn this many degrees going east, and go this distance, and then you create all these points by essentially describing how far using a longitude, latitude, degree system in order to create a boundary. Even if that boundary ends up being square, the way that we describe legal descriptions here on this side of the Mississippi is from this point to point to point to point type of way called meets and bounds. So there's block and lot on the west, there's meets and bounds on the east. And surveys and plats can be used to create that legal description of either type. However, just to recap, plats are generally going to be a broad view, this large pink, hopefully this will show up well on my camera, a broad view of tons of parcels or many parcels at once. Survey is going to be used generally for one particular property, okay? Another major difference between the two is plats don't always show structures. They don't always show what exactly is on a piece of property. They're really just trying to show the relationship between this parcel and this parcel and this parcel and this parcel and this parcel. It's more about the relationship between the parcels, whereas a survey will show you what currently exists on a property. This illustration here is kind of, I previously recorded this and realized it didn't make much sense, but were there roads and homes on a property that was surveyed, then the survey will show that. It'll show structures, it'll show roads, it'll show creeks, it'll show whatever is on top of the ground of a piece of property. Now, what happens when you are trying to, say, take this particular parcel that has been surveyed, let's say 15 years ago, and now you want to sell that property and or rather develop the property and turn it into a place that has, you know, 100 homes. If it's 100 acres, let's call it 110 acres, and you're going to develop it into 100 homes on 1 acre lots. Forget the fact that this looks like a terrible subdivision plan, because it does, but in order to get all of the individual lots for that home, you're going to actually have to get the property now platted out in order to show the future lots, what they look like, and where they will be, in order for one day when you sell them, for each of these lots to have their own individual addresses, and of course for people to clearly have a legal description of what it is they own. So you may have had a survey on that particular property with nothing on it, but now that you're going to have a future use of a big subdivision, you're going to get that property platted out in order to reflect the future lots that will be on the property. Maybe not the homes, because maybe people will build custom homes, or maybe you haven't found a builder yet. But in order to show where the roads will be and how those will work out, and where the house lots will begin and end for each neighbor, then you will get the property platted out. So plats can also be a future use for subdividing a property for whatever reason, not just this idea of several properties put together, or rather several properties and how they relate to each other. Sometimes it can be how you're going to further divide one property into a bunch of smaller properties. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you have any questions, as per usual, please give me a shout. You can reach me in the comments, in email, and I think my phone number is probably somewhere around there too. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. This is Plats and Surveys. Adios.